The holidays are ahead of us, so while you may not be ready to decorate just yet, we're learning how to stay safe when you do.
Yeah, so joining us live in studio to explain is physical therapist Susan Hinson. Good morning. Thanks so much for coming in.
Morning, ladies.
So talk about some of the common injuries that people get from decorating, because I know the ER gets a lot of these around the holiday time.
Very true, very true. And truly, we notice even in the therapy world, but so many of them fall off a ladder.
Yeah.
And so anything from your, mild sprains, strains, especially ankles, getting twisted, knee injuries, falling on their bottoms, and then so translating all that force into the back. So a lot of different pains and aches can come from these type of falls.
I mean, it sounds like, oh my gosh, we're talking about how to safely use a ladder. Like, oh, that's common sense. But when you're standing up there, I mean, everybody thinks it's not going to happen to them. What are some common things that people do that make this more dangerous?
Right. So a lot of times through the stories and what people do is they just don't take the time to set the ladder up. They're like, oh, I'll just put this one last thing up. And next thing you know, when you're on a ladder, you need to always have those 3 points of safety. So hopefully 2 feet and a hand, or at least put your hand on the wall so that you have the other one free. But once you let go, that's usually when, next thing happens.
Yeah.
And then of course, doing it by yourself in poor lighting, all of those things, contribute to those falls. And oh my goodness, I know it is so warm here. It's still in the 80s, right, ladies? How many of us have been guilty of getting on a ladder in flippy flops, right? No support, barefoot.
Or heels like her.
Yes.
She is doing it all wrong. I will tell you that.
But
And a lot of the things that I hear from ER doctors too is people get up on that top step that's not actually meant to bear weight, and doing it alone. We really can't emphasize that you should not be doing this alone. A lot of people think I do this every year. I know what I'm doing, but as you get older too, the consequences become greater.
So, and some of the other kind of things with the holidays is you start pulling out all those extra boxes. There's a lot of extra cords, whether that cord is wrapped around you and then the ladder, but it just all comes together to make the perfect chaos, right?
Yeah. I mean, talking about some of those cords, some of the string lights.
Yes.
I mean, what makes them dangerous? Just because they are just wrapped up everywhere?
Usually so, they're hanging. And so a lot of times, even if you may be aware of it, it's when somebody else or you have a guest or possibly an elder that has a cane or a walker, and then they don't realize it's there.
Yeah.
And so again, there's some things we can do again to tape over it, to help cover it up. But even still with the Christmas tree itself, like inside, is that those cords can be so far down into the tree, and next thing you know, they're thinking the tree is so much stable, and whoops, here we go into the tree or the whatever.
Right.
But so there's some really neat gadgets out there that can help as far as
not having to constantly get down and plug it and plug it.
Correct.
Yeah. So let's talk about fall prevention around the house too, not just with the holiday decorating and the ladders and things like that, but you've got relatives coming to visit who probably maybe only come once a year.
Correct.
What should we talk about with like lighting in the hallway on the way to the bathroom or rugs on the ground? I mean, we should probably prepare our homes for people who are coming over.
Absolutely. So we love to say, especially if they're coming in, they might have a little bit of a shuffle, whether they use the cane or not, but just go ahead. I know they're cute, but pick up those rugs. Get them out of the way for those type of guests. Then the other thing would be to definitely have adequate lighting. So if they're going to be staying where it's a little bit dimmer, make sure, hey, there's some really adorable Christmas time plug-ins and night lights. Have them in the hallways, have them in the bathrooms, so that your guests aren't being challenged. It's just part of that aging is that our eyesight isn't quite as sharp as it used to be, and the low lighting definitely can be prevented.
Yeah. I mean, you can talk about some of the injuries that people can suffer, because these can be really traumatic injuries. Just a fall as you get older can really hurt people's longevity.
Right. So there's quite a few statistics about falling that when they fall, especially if they end up, heaven to Betsy's, that they break a hip or they might fracture something in their spine, but it just perpetuates this thing, then they're afraid to get out, they're afraid to be as mobile, their quality of life is going to go down, and then just that much more anxieties when they do get up and moving, and so they're not as mobile, so it just starts, then the balance goes down, their strength goes down, and just it's just this whole.
Your balance naturally goes down as you age?
It does, unfortunately. So, balance is very complex. It's components of our vision, our inner ears, and then even our ability to sense our body position, the proprioception. And again, our sensory issues go down, and some of those things, it is with age, but some other things like with arthritis, or those of us that might have the diabetes, where they have less sensation, especially like on the lower part of their leg, they're not able to discern, oh, I'm standing on a rug, I'm standing on the floor. So.
All right, Susan Hinson, that was really great information. I know this is really important for people, especially as we head into the holidays. Thank you so much for coming into the studio.
Thank you.
All right.